What if America vanished tomorrow? Not slowly. Not over centuries. But suddenly. Cities abandoned. Highways silent. Skyscrapers standing empty. Records lost. Explanations debated for generations. It sounds like science fiction. Yet history tells us it has already happened. More than once. Entire civilizations, advanced for their time, powerful in their regions, and confident in their permanence, collapsed so quickly that later generations struggled to explain how it was even possible. This is not just ancient history. It is a warning. Because the forces that destroyed these civilizations still exist today. Climate instability. Political arrogance. Elites ignoring warning signs. Mass migration. Economic collapse. And the dangerous belief that tomorrow will always look like today. This is the story of the civilization that disappeared almost overnight. And why it matters now. Thousands of years before modern America existed, one of the world's earliest urban civilizations flourished along the banks of the Indus River. The Indus Valley Civilization, also known as the Harappan Civilization, stretched across what is now Pakistan and northwestern India. At its peak, it covered an area larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. Its cities were astonishing. Perfectly planned street grids. Advanced drainage systems. Standardized bricks. Public baths. Warehouses. Trade networks that reached as far as Mesopotamia. This was not a primitive society. It was organized. Sophisticated. Stable. And then, it vanished. No massive invasion. No clear evidence of conquest. No dramatic ruins filled with skeletons. Just abandonment. City by city, the population declined. Urban centers emptied. Trade stopped. Writing disappeared. Within a relatively short period of time, one of the world's greatest civilizations faded into obscurity. For centuries, no one even remembered it had existed. So what happened? The answer begins with climate. Scientific evidence shows that around 4,200 years ago, global climate patterns shifted. Monsoon systems weakened. Rainfall became unpredictable. Rivers changed course. Some dried up entirely. The Indus civilization was built on water management and agricultural stability. When the climate became unreliable, the system that supported millions of people began to fail. Crops suffered. Food shortages followed. Trade declined. But climate alone does not collapse a civilization. What matters is how leaders respond. Archaeological evidence suggests the Indus elite failed to adapt. There is no sign of large-scale infrastructure changes to manage water scarcity. No evidence of political reform. No clear attempt to restructure society. Instead, people began to leave. Not in panic. Not in chaos. But steadily. Cities shrank. Populations migrated eastward toward more reliable water sources. Urban life was abandoned in favor of smaller rural settlements. The civilization did not explode. It drained away. This pattern repeats throughout history. Consider the Maya. Deep in the jungles of Central America, the Maya built towering stone cities, complex calendars, advanced mathematics, and astronomical systems that rival modern science. For centuries, they thrived. Then, between roughly 800 and 1000 AD, many major Maya cities were abandoned. Once again, no single invasion explains it. Instead, evidence points to prolonged drought, deforestation, soil depletion, and political fragmentation. As resources became scarce, elites continued to build monuments and wage wars rather than address the growing crisis. The result was mass migration. People left cities that could no longer support them. Power structures collapsed. The civilization fragmented. The Maya did not disappear entirely, but their golden age ended abruptly. The Akkadian Empire tells a similar story. Often considered the world's first empire, Akkad unified Mesopotamia under a single ruler. It controlled vast trade networks and agricultural systems. Then, around 2200 BC, a severe climate event struck. Drought devastated crops. Dust storms darkened the sky. Written records describe famine so severe that people sold their children for food. The empire collapsed. Cities were abandoned. Central authority dissolved. Once again, the warning signs were visible. Once again, elites failed to act. The pattern is unmistakable. Civilizations rarely collapse because of a single event. They collapse because of systems under stress. And because those in power refuse to acknowledge reality until it is too late. Because the parallels to today are impossible to ignore. The United States, like these ancient civilizations, is deeply dependent on complex systems. Climate stability. Global trade. Infrastructure. Political cooperation. Disrupt one system, and others begin to strain. Ignore warning signs, and stress becomes collapse. Climate change is not a future threat. It is a present reality. Droughts intensify. Floods increase. Wildfires grow more destructive. Supply chains break. Migration increases. Economic inequality widens. Political polarization deepens. And just as in the ancient world, those with the most power often delay meaningful action. History shows us what happens next. People move. Cities change. Institutions fracture. The question is not whether collapse can happen. The question is how fast. The Indus Valley Civilization likely believed it would last forever. So did the Maya. So did the Akkadians. Civilizations do not collapse because people are stupid. They collapse because they are human. Because adaptation is difficult. Because short-term comfort often outweighs long-term survival. Because leaders cling to old systems even as the world changes around them. What makes the Indus collapse especially haunting is how quiet it was. No dramatic ending. No final battle. Just empty streets and forgotten cities. Millennia later, archaeologists would uncover perfectly built drainage systems leading nowhere. Baths no one used. Homes no one returned to. A civilization that solved problems of sanitation, trade, and urban planning far ahead of its time, undone by forces it could not control and leaders who could not adapt. The lesson is not that collapse is inevitable. The lesson is that denial is dangerous. History does not repeat itself exactly. But it rhymes. And every civilization that believed it was different eventually discovered it was not. If America vanished tomorrow, future historians would search for explanations. They would study climate data. Political records. Economic trends. They would ask whether the warning signs were visible. Whether leaders listened. Whether society adapted. The ancient world is not a distant mystery. It is a mirror. And the civilizations that disappeared overnight are still trying to tell us something. The question is whether we are willing to listen. Because history does not announce collapse. It whispers first. And only those who hear it early survive.